Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're doing well today. Just wanted to do another whiteboard video for you guys. See if I can't give you some perspective on something that we see a lot of problems with, unfortunately, and that is insomnia. How many of you guys have problems sleeping? A lot of people that I work with have problems sleeping. A lot of people that reach out to us have a lot of difficulty either getting to sleep or staying asleep. Sometimes both. But I was just talking to someone today about this, and I was thinking, you know what, I need to do a video and show the common causes that we see for people not being able to either get to sleep or stay asleep, and give you guys some tips on how you can really try to help yourself, because we commonly, find that there are a few things that are the most common drivers of these problems. Okay? So let's go through those. Hopefully I can help you guys out so that you can sleep better, because sleep is so important for our body's recovery, for a lot of the processes in the brain. The brain's processes of regeneration and recovery, repair is really, a lot of that happens during your at night while you're sleeping. So let's take a look at 6 common things that cause insomnia with Hashimoto's. Now, guys, this will apply to you even if you don't have Hashimoto's. A lot of these things will apply to you. It's really just going to be bullet point 6 that applies to people specifically with Hashimoto's. Okay? So let's look at the problems. Let's talk about some potential solutions. Okay? All right. So the number one is what? The number one reason, and this is not in a particular order, guys, right? These are just 6 things that we very commonly see. So 6 things that cause insomnia with Hashimoto's. Number 1 is, you know what we'll do? Okay, I've got a different color here. What do you guys think it is? Low blood sugar. Now, why would low blood sugar cause problems with sleeping, guys? Why would it cause problems with sleep? Well, usually when you see someone that has low blood sugar, it's not that they have a problem necessarily getting to sleep. It's usually that they wake up, a few hours after they're in bed, or they wake up at 3 and 4 and they're wide awake. And the primary mechanism behind that is that the blood sugar drops at night, and the body has to have continued supply of blood sugar so that the brain can continue to run the functions of the body. And if the blood sugar gets too low, the brain will activate your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and they produce hormones that actually help your body to raise blood sugar, okay? Because your body can actually tap into your storage of blood sugar in the liver and in the large muscles of your body. And so the brain will recruit these adrenal glands to actually stimulate and make some hormones. Now, the hormones that are made are usually cortisol and adrenaline. Now, the reason that your body makes these is because they stimulate, like I said, the release of stored blood sugar in the liver and the muscles. That helps to raise blood sugar so that the brain can continue to run the bodily functions when your body is in a state that is a fasted state, where it doesn't have, where you're not eating and consuming continuous calories that the brain can function from those calories. So what happens is basically in a fasted state, your brain has to tap into these storage, these reserves of sugar in the liver and the muscle. So if you have low blood sugar to begin with, then the brain has to more strongly activate the production of these hormones, because it needs a greater stimulus to raise the blood sugar more, because it's already low. So the brain is already running at a deficit. It's going to run out. Your brain is going to run out of the sugar that it needs earlier, and what's going to happen is you're going to stimulate the production of these hormones. Now, what happens is adrenaline is one of the hormones, or epinephrine. It's one of the hormones that's released. It energizes you. So if you wake up at 3 or 4 and you're wide awake, one of the reasons could be you have low blood sugar, your blood sugar dropped pretty low, the brain very forcefully and strongly recruited the adrenal glands to make cortisol and epinephrine in an effort to raise blood sugar, because it has to have blood sugar to continue running your bodily functions. So if you have low blood sugar, the typical pattern you're going to see is someone's going to wake up in the middle of the night. They might get to sleep okay, but they wake up early, and then they can't get back to sleep. So what are some things you can do about that particular issue? Well, number one, you have to eat and stabilize blood sugar throughout the day. So typically 3 small meals throughout the day and 3 snacks. So that's eating pretty frequently, but eating that way will keep and help you stabilize blood sugar. Now, you can also sometimes, it's beneficial if you consume a little bit of protein before bed. So that helps to, if you consume something that's higher in carbohydrates before bed, you tend to spike the blood sugar, and then it will crash later. You'll have reactive low blood sugar. So I don't recommend these starchy foods before you go to bed. Like some people, I can remember one person in particular was having problems sleeping. And you start looking at what people are eating before bed, and this guy was eating mangoes, tropical fruit. Guys, let me tell you something. If anything is tropical or it grows near the equator, it's going to have higher sugar content. So this guy was having a massive, dose of sugar before bed, then it would crash, and he would wake up. Other people do things that they'll have ice cream before they go to bed. They'll have cookies or something sweet. Big mistake if you're trying to sleep well, guys. So, most of the time we're looking at eating frequently throughout the day and then having some protein before you go to bed. And then if you do wake up in the middle of the night, eat some protein. If you get up, go eat some protein, go back to bed. And that usually helps to stabilize blood sugar. Now, there is, and I don't want to get too much into this because, I want to keep usable concepts that are really easy for you to implement. But you can eat resistant starches, which is basically like, it could be a potato that's been cooked but then cooled. The cooling of the potato or the cooling of cooked rice creates a resistant starch. And the resistant starches release at a very slow rate in the body. There's even, there are some medical foods like UCAN and some other companies that make resistant starches, but you can make it really simple yourself. So anyway, I want to share that with you guys. That's a good strategy for low blood sugar. Small meals throughout the day, so 3 meals, 3 snacks, so you do not get low blood sugar through the day. Prior to bed, eat a little bit of protein. If you wake up at night, eat some more protein. That's a low blood sugar pattern, okay? That's one of the easiest things that you can do. Now, number 2 cause is, anybody know? You're going to put it in the comments for me. What is it? Number 2, 6 things that cause insomnia with Hashimoto's. So low blood sugar is number 1. High blood sugar. Different scenario though, guys. Different scenario. So high blood sugar will also create problems, can very, very commonly, we see a lot, create problems with sleep. Now, why is that? Well, when you have higher blood sugar, you tend to have higher cortisol. Okay, the stress hormone we talked about that was active and produced in higher amounts with low blood sugar. When the blood sugar got low, the brain produced it to raise the blood sugar levels. Now, when you have high blood sugar, you tend to have high cortisol. And cortisol is made with epinephrine or adrenaline. That is a stimulating hormone. High cortisol, high epinephrine or adrenaline, an inability to really get to sleep. A lot of people that have high blood sugar, they might feel tired throughout the day, and then they get this burst of energy in the evening, right? And they're like, well, I'm wide awake. They feel like they can get things done, but through the day they're just completely exhausted and tired. That is very characteristic of this higher cortisol. And if you were to look at their cortisol production through the day, which we do that a lot of times when we do advanced testing with people, we'll get a cortisol 24-hour profile on them to measure it at a few points throughout the day. You'll see that their production of cortisol is either flat and then it rises in the evening. The rhythm is off for sure, but it usually spikes in the evening. And that's definitely going to be a recipe for insomnia. So usually that's going to be a higher blood sugar pattern and higher cortisol. So there are a few things that you can do here. The number one thing is you've got to get this blood sugar under control. Okay, and I mean, I could go on, we could talk hours about high blood sugar and some things that can drive high blood sugar other than just diet, like inflammation. There's other mechanisms that can be at play, but let's keep it simple and usable as possible. So high blood sugar what can you do if you have these problems, right? This is typically you can't get to sleep, right? Listen, guys, a key, probably the best indicator of whether or not you have high blood sugar is fatigue after meals. If you eat and you're tired after a meal, that's that's a sign that you have exceeded your tolerance for carbohydrates. Okay, that's a clear sign that we've got problems with blood sugar. So, high blood sugar, the things you can do. So one of the things, if you're physically able to exercise. Even if it's just walking, small, for small amounts of time. When you exercise, you burn sugar. So it helps to lower blood sugar, and you condition the muscles to be more efficient at burning sugar for energy. So you actually, by exercising, you have a better tolerance to carbohydrates because your body can use them more efficiently. The muscles, when they get efficient at using sugar, you can definitely consume foods that have higher carbohydrates and not have as much of an issue with high or low blood sugar. You keep it pretty stable because the muscles are so efficient. So exercise is a great way to do that, but from a dietary perspective, which is what a lot of people are, which is what you need to do. You have to do the dietary stuff first, and then you can add the exercise. There are a few different strategies. I really like if you ate like a paleo type of diet. That's a pretty good diet. I think ketogenic diets are very good if you do them right. They're very good. And they're extremely beneficial ways because ketogenic diets are burning fat for energy. So you basically limit your carbohydrates significantly, and that can really help to bring down blood sugar and stabilize blood sugar. Or you can actually look into intermittent fasting, which is, if you've never heard of that, it's not some radical concept. It's actually a very powerful tool that a lot of diabetes clinics that are like leading edge have used to help people reverse type 2 diabetes very effectively with nothing but fasting. You just have to, be monitored, especially if you're on some kind of blood sugar medication or you have problems with blood sugar. You have to be medically monitored for that, just in case you don't want to, become severely hypoglycemic. But these are very, very powerful tools. So things to consider: fasting, ketogenic diets, more of low carbohydrate or very high complex carbohydrate diets like paleo. Okay, exercise are very, very beneficial. And so those are really powerful strategies you can use to help with high blood sugar. Now, number 3, too much anyone know? Too much what? Too much blue. Too much blue light. Too much blue light. Now, you may be familiar with this, you may not. So, our bodies are really designed to work with the sun up and with the rising and setting of the sun. Okay, so the light itself that the sun puts off, there's a lot of blue light within that, in the wavelengths that are emitted by the sun. And so when we're exposed to blue light, biologically, it changes our hormones. It changes our rhythm and production of hormones. So when the sun goes down and the light goes away, our hormones shift. Okay, we start making melatonin, and our hormone physiology changes. And our body becomes more drowsy because that's how our bodies are designed, to operate with the sun. So when you are constantly exposed to sources of blue light, like your TV, like your cell phone, and even different types of like fluorescent bulbs, different types of light bulbs, LEDs that can be on alarm clocks, everything. It tricks your brain into thinking that the sun is still up, even if it's down, which will suppress hormone production, and you will not be able to wind down. So, what can you do to reduce your exposure to all this blue light? Well, you need to really consider replacing fluorescent bulbs with incandescent bulbs. And I know. Everyone is like, well, people think about, well, we've got all these great energy efficient bulbs now and LEDs and all this other stuff. We do, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding them for a lot of different reasons. But the incandescent bulbs don't, they're perfectly fine to have exposure to. You really, if you're going to have bulbs on in the evening or lights on in the evening, you can even get orange tint to them, which is very helpful. Or probably even a more simple tool, you just wear, I know you're going to think it's going to be kind of corny, but it is what it is. You can wear orange glasses that filter the blue light. So you're exposed to more of this orange light in the evening, and it will help to filter the blue light that you're exposed to. And do that, a few hours before bed, like 2 hours before bed. Yes, you're going to walk around your house with orange sunglasses on. It is what it is. If you sleep good, who cares, right? You're in your home, it's your home. So that's one thing. You can also use filters for your cell phones. Like a lot of cell phones now have these filters. I know my phone has a filter that I program in, and when the sun goes down, it's set to coincide with the sun going down. It changes the tint to like this orange color, so it filters out the blue light. So you can do things like that. You can even do things very simple like set an alarm on your phone an hour before you're supposed to go to bed, right? An hour before you get in bed, turn off all the electronics, okay? Turn off the blue lights, light a candle, or put an orange tinted bulb in your bedside lamp and read for like an hour before you're supposed to go to bed. Then you have an alarm that goes off when it's bedtime, okay? Turn everything off and go to bed. But you've got to disconnect from that blue light, or you're going to have problems getting to sleep. It's going to suppress your melatonin production, guys. So, orange glasses, filters on your phone. You can even get filters for your computer screen, guys, that will, different software programs that will change the color. And then no electronic devices 1 hour before bed. If you do, they need to have a filter on them, okay? So, too much blue light. The fourth thing that causes insomnia with Hashimoto's, inflammation. So inflammation does some really interesting things to our body. Inflammation itself creates numerous physiological problems. So one of the things that inflammation will do is inflammation will drive up your stress hormone, cortisol, which we have talked about 2 other times in this, already, cortisol. So inflammation will drive up cortisol. And what hormone is made with cortisol? Epinephrine or adrenaline. It's called adrenaline epinephrine. And what does that do? It's energizing, it's stimulatory. So inflammation itself, if you're inflamed, if you have an inflammatory process, high inflammatory chemistry, you're very likely to have higher cortisol and therefore higher epinephrine, and you're going to be more wired. You're going to have a lot of difficulty getting to sleep. And one of the things that inflammation can do, especially if it's brain-based inflammation, it can really create a lot of anxiety. We know that, there are a lot of people that would say today that almost every mood disorder has inflammation as an underlying component, and that's because the inflammation to the brain creates a lot of issues with brain chemistry and with neurological activity and firing of neurons. It disrupts it. So that's one thing. Inflammation will create a lot of issues, guys. And so the most common source of inflammation that I would say that we see is food. It's an inflammatory process that's caused from certain foods that you're eating, driving an inflammatory immune response, which we can measure. But I would say it's the most common reason that we see people having problems with immune-based problems that drive inflammation is going to be food reactivity. So inflammation's a big one, guys, and there's a lot of things there. We could talk for hours about inflammation and things that drive inflammation. Just want to give you some practical ideas here, looking at foods primarily, okay? It's the most common thing that I would say we see. So, number 5. What is number 5, guys? Does anyone know the 5th thing that causes insomnia with Hashimoto's? What is it? Starts with an H. H, imbalances. H, hormone imbalances, guys. Hormone imbalances are a major cause of problems sleeping. Okay? So, what hormone imbalances? Okay, so low progesterone in women is very commonly associated with difficulty sleeping. And, it's one of those things that this is one that you really need to measure. You need to measure it. But this is a really common reason that women have problems sleeping is because of low progesterone. Now, when you're in around menopause, perimenopause, low estrogens can create issues. We see that happening as well. And in men, it's interesting, but the low testosterone in men contribute to difficulties with sleeping and resting as well. And we know that these hormones, they have a lot of different physiological activities throughout the body, and they do seem to there's a lot of physiological activity in the brain. So this is something that, if you don't have these problems and you ruled all these out, this is where you really have to look next, okay, is looking at hormonal imbalances. So the sixth thing is really unmanaged Hashimoto's. Now, why would unmanaged Hashimoto's be a problem with sleep? Well, it really comes down to the process that occurs with the autoimmune attack against the thyroid, because Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroid condition. And what happens is when you have an autoimmune flare, because Hashimoto's isn't something that's just constant. You have flare-ups of the autoimmune process. And when you have a flare-up, it means that the immune system attacks the gland. Now, when the immune system attacks the gland, it destroys some of the cells of the thyroid. When the cells of the thyroid are destroyed, they burst and they dump their contents into the bloodstream. What do you think is contained inside those cells of the thyroid? Thyroid hormone. What does thyroid hormone do to your metabolism? Speeds it up. So you have an autoimmune attack, destroys some of the cells, you spill the hormones into the bloodstream, it spikes the thyroid hormone. So what happens? You may have symptoms of hyperthyroidism. You may have palpitations. You may not be able to get to bed because you're on the Hashimoto's roller coaster, as I call it. That spikes the hormones. After you burn through the hormones for days, even a week or more, they start to come down, and you might come down to normal and feel normal again and be able to sleep, but then you might go hypo and be fatigued. Another autoimmune attack spikes you again, and now you have those problems of hyper. You might not be able to sleep over a week or more. It comes down, you go, and it's just over and over, and you cannot anticipate the autoimmune attacks. So when I say unmanaged, there are a lot of things that you can do to address very common drivers of Hashimoto's, things that we've observed clinically that we know can contribute to promoting this, an increase in activity here. And so the main things that we see that drive the autoimmune process that we observe clinically are going to be anything that stimulates the immune system, that overly stimulates the immune system. So we're looking for drivers of the immune process, because this is an autoimmune process. So we're looking for drivers of the immune system, anything that's regularly stimulating the immune system. So food sensitivities, environmental chemicals. Is your immune system reacting to chemicals in your environment? All these things we can quantitatively measure, by the way, with testing. And pathogens. So bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungal infections. Is your body reacting to those things? If it is, it drives an immune response. And we see that whenever we identify as many of these drivers as possible, we work to remove them from the person's diet or environment, and we support better regulation of the immune system nutritionally and with temporary nutritional supplementation, that we're able to, usually have a very positive impact on this, where we're dampening this process, and things really start to improve in most cases. So that's when I mean unmanaged Hashimoto's. So guys, these are a lot of the things that we very commonly see, and this is not an exhaustive list, but it's something that I thought I would share with you guys. If you're really looking at how can you have better ideas on dietary or supplemental approaches, things that you can work on, like what foods do I need to eliminate? How can you improve a lot of these things? You might want to consider joining our transformation community, which is it's a community that we've put together that consists of 3 different things. But we give you, one part of it is that we give you access to the programs that we have created and that we are creating, like our transformation program, which is a dietary lifestyle program that even gives you, a customized approach for nutritional supplementation to consider using to help support your body and the processes and problems that are occurring. We also have a private Facebook group that's associated with that, and we have, if you need nutritional supplementation, the great thing is that through that program, there's a 35% discount on all the a lot of them are physician-only supplements that we, as part of my online pharmacy. So you get access to all that stuff as part of our community. And guys, right now it's only $20 per month, and you can cancel it at any time. And really, we're trying to make this information and the things to help people available to the masses. And quite frankly, at $20 per month, most people, so I work with people one-on-one, and we do customized we do customized testing and plan design for people. But I found most of the people I work with, I always encourage them to join our Hashimoto's transformation community because they can actually save a tremendous amount of money. I just had someone that I did a supplement plan for, and they saved well over $100. And you know, the ultimate goal is to not take supplements long term, guys. But what we're trying to do is give access to leading edge medicine on leading edge information on precision medicine. So customized approaches for you, functional medicine, which is looking at how all the systems of the body interact, and genomics. That's something that we're going to be adding a lot more information to in the near future. We're trying to make that available to the masses, not at a break even, but actually at a cheaper cost. Like when you actually join, we're hoping that people actually have more money at the end of the day. So we're trying to do this because we want to help masses of people to really get access to this information. But it takes a lot of time and energy for me and my staff to do this and create this stuff. And so there's a lot of work that we put in, but we're trying to make this available to you guys and help you out as much as we can. So, you know, if nothing else, though, you take this information and hopefully make some changes that really have a positive impact. If you're looking for, you know, really specific guidance on things that we might recommend, please go to hashimotosdoctor.com/TCS and look into joining our transformation community. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. We'll do everything we can to answer them and support you guys. And if you're really stuck and you're just trying to figure out how to get better faster, go to our website at drbradshuk.com, click on the application for care page, and you can learn about working with us one-on-one and getting really customized testing and a very specific plan to try to get you faster results and be really specific for you. You know, I work with people all around the world and all over the country, and we can do a lot of that via distance consulting, so phone and Skype appointments. It's all possible now with technology. So anyway, guys, I hope this helps you to better understand a lot of things that can drive and that we see promote insomnia. I really hope that this helps you. And if you implement some of these strategies and you see positive changes in your sleep, please let us know. We'd love to hear how it's helped you out. But I appreciate you guys so much. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys again probably tomorrow. Thanks.